Congratulations, you're through to week 20 of What Happened on My Universe mode! And as always, we start with Raw, which took place in Washington, DC, opening with a match between Sheamus and the man that gravity forgot, Neville. The match began with Sheamus on offense, but once Neville hit this DDT, he gained the ascendancy, hitting a sweet moonsault and a cool reverse Hurricane Rana. Later on, the match swung back into Sheamus' favour. However, when he put Neville on the top rope, Neville kicked him away and hit a massive drop kick. He then hit some flippy stuff and sent Sheamus to the outside, where he hit his freaking sweet moonsault over the top rope. On the outside, Sheamus picked up a baseball bat though, brought it back in and hit Neville with it, causing a disqualification. Next up, Daniel Bryan teamed with his nemesis, Bray Wyatt, to take on Bray Wyatt's cronies, Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. And before the match, Bray Wyatt was ready to start, but Daniel Bryan, well, he obviously smelt something fishy because he started the match himself. Despite a hot start by Daniel Bryan, Harper and Rowan took turns in beating down the WWE Champion. Daniel Bryan did see his chance at some point though, and kicked Harper in the face several times. Following that, Harper managed to tag out and Daniel Bryan got a kick to the face himself, and they went back to beating on the champ. They even hit a 3D, but the 3D wasn't enough to keep Daniel Bryan down, who reversed a suplex by Harper and suplexed him back. He then did another kick to Harper's face. He must have been getting sick of them. Luckily for them, they hit another 3D and won the match, with no help from Bray Wyatt, the guy who was supposed to be teaming with him. Anyway, Paige now, and she was taking on Emma, who was accompanied by the Divas champion, Brie Bella, who Paige had attacked the week before. After a fairly even beginning, Paige got the advantage with a Hurricane Rana and headed straight to the outside to attack Brie Bella. After hitting a Paige turner on Brie, and then a Paige turner on Emma, she then slammed Emma down with a Rampage for the victory. Another week, another clash between Ryback and Seth Rollins, in a continuation of their big feud. So far in this feud, Seth Rollins has had Ryback's number, just managing to win both times in the last 2 weeks. However, Ryback had a plan this time, and once he'd eaten one of Seth Rollins' schoolboy super kicks, his plan began. First hitting a powerbomb, then taking Seth Rollins down again, and then hitting 5 more powerbombs, hoping that Seth Rollins, well, just would be like dead after it. He wasn't dead though, and Seth Rollins came back after that last powerbomb, managing to get a dropkick with his last ounce of power, I guess, putting his feet on the ropes for a pin afterwards, and Ryback couldn't kick out with that leverage. Seth Rollins sneaking to victory this time. Now in Raw's main event, Brock Lesnar took on Rusev, and Dean Ambrose came to get a closer look at the action. Brock Lesnar initially took control of the match with some side breakers, but Dean Ambrose was a little too distracting for him. Ambrose's presence all got a bit much for Brock Lesnar, and he went to the outside to confront the Lunatic Fringe. Though while he was on the outside, Rusev woke up and took him out, and then worked on his head gradually throughout the rest of the match. Rusev deemed the beating sufficient enough to warrant the accolade being slapped on, and somehow Brock Lesnar tapped. You can tell it's a computer game, can't you? Anyway, Rusev wins, and now off to Houston, Texas for main event, and a cracking opening match between Bret Hart and Ricky Steamboat. And this match between two WWE Hall of Famers, well, it wasn't a classic, but it was still a very even contest with both men hitting big suplexes and big moves. Bret Hart took the advantage with this dropkick and then choked Steamboat's neck on the ropes with that slingshot type thing. A pile driver was hit, but then Steamboat out of nowhere pulled his little lift and drop, and Bret Hart couldn't kick out. And by Bret Hart I mean me. Oops. Lex Luger was back, minus CM Punk, and he was set to take on Randy Savage, but on his way to the ring he was followed by Andre the Giant, who attacked him and slammed his head on the steps, leaving Lex Luger to pick up the pieces. And pick up the pieces he did. He just took out Macho Man, slammed him about a bit and then hit the pile driver for the victory. Lex Luger picking up the easy win there, but now it's time for some tag team action as Rick Rude and Jake Roberts teamed up to face off against Rikishi and Haku. As usual, the match began evenly with Rikishi taking on both men for a little bit each time. Then he hit a Samoan drop on Jake Roberts and tagged in Haku. And simply put, you don't fuck with Haku, because he will hit you hard and kick you in the face. Once Haku was finished beating Rick Rude up, Rikishi gave him a stink face to add insult to injury. Then hit a bonsai drop to finish the match. We had a pretty big contest for the penultimate match of main event, as main event's WWE Champion The Undertaker took on the #1 contender Triple H. The clash between the two legends was a pretty hard-hitting affair, with both men hitting some very high-impact maneuvers. And the hard-hitting didn't stop at slams as Triple H reversed that into a massive short-arm clothesline. He then hit a spinebuster, but it wasn't enough, Undertaker hitting a fall-away slam and a big choke slam. Once that had been hit though, Triple H got the upper hand again and hit a pedigree to win the match clean, and definitely stake his claim as the #1 contender. Post-match, well, he beat The Undertaker down. And so we move on to main event's main event, and Booker T, the hometown boy, took on Stone Cold Steve Austin for the European title. Booker began well, kicking Stone Cold in the face and sending him to the outside, hitting a big powerbomb on the outside, and then throwing him into the steel steps back on the inside, and Stone Cold threw Booker T to the outside, hitting him with a side breaker, and then bulldogging him. But Booker T had the advantage again, throwing Stone Cold into the post and bringing it back into the ring. From then it was back to an even contest, Stone Cold hitting a powerbomb and an elbow drop before Booker T getting a spinebuster. He then hit the scissors kick and we thought it was over. 1, 2, Stone Cold said no, hit a Luther's press, and then depressingly, I couldn't kick out, and Stone Cold retained the title. That's twice in one show I've done that. Not good at all. Anyway, the future was in San Antonio, Texas. The NXT and the Hardcore Champion Kevin Owens faced off against Baron Corbin, and he started with a suplex, and then a bigger suplex, but then Baron Corbin threw him to the outside. On the outside, Corbin had a bit of advantage, dropping Owens onto the barricade and hitting a powerbomb, but it wasn't enough to keep Owens down, and after hitting a couple of moves on the outside, he brought Baron Corbin back in and hit him with his imitation package pile driver, followed by the pop-up powerbomb, and it was victory for Kevin Owens. But afterwards, Hideo Itami came out and said he wanted that hardcore strap. Tag team partners faced off next as R-Truth took on Xavier Woods, and it was a very even contest, both men matching each other move for move, and so we had no real advantage until it came to the end of the match, when Xavier Woods hit a nice DDT. That's the one. Following that up with a splash from the top rope and eat defeat, Xavier Woods was able to pull out the victory and get one up on his tag team partner. Speaking of tag teams, it's time to start talking about the NXT Tag Team Title, and we started a tournament here as Adam Rose and Bo Dallas faced off against Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. Now, despite Adam Rose's recent winning run of 2 whole matches, he was no match for Enzo and Big Cass, who went about destroying him. Tagging into Bo Dallas, he hit a couple of moves, but again he was no match for Enzo and Big Cass either. The pair of them hitting several big moves, culminating in their big splash finisher, and winning the match, proceeding to the semi-finals. Going on second to last on the show was NXT champion Finn Balor, who took on Diamond Dallas Page, but as usual Finn Balor was the one taking advantage to start with. Unlike last time out with Fandango, DDP was actually able to hit some moves, hitting a side suplex and a Sean O'Hare thing, but Finn Balor came back, hit the Sunday Bloody Sunday, the Pele and a coup de grace to win the match, as usual. NXT's main event was another quarter-final clash in the Tag Team Title tournament as the Ascension took on Bam Bam Bigelow and Vader. Well, hey. This was a hard-hitting affair and both teams hit huge moves on each other. despite the fact that the Ascension found it hard to lift their super heavyweight pairing of Bam Bam and Vader. Even though Connor did walk into a Vader slam after a mistake, the Ascension did gain the advantage back and knocked Vader out with a Doomsday device, and Bam Bam had to tag himself in. With Bam Bam in the ring, he hit a glitchy slam, followed by a gorilla press, but it wasn't enough, and the ascendancy was for the Ascension. Double teaming, they ended the match with the Fall of Man, and just to make sure, Vader got taken out again. 1, 2, 3, and the Ascension are into the semi-finals. As always, we end the week with SmackDown, and we were in Montreal, Quebec, Canada for it, starting with Bad News Barrett taking on Mark Henry. Wade Barrett had a hard-hitting start, but it wasn't enough, and Mark Henry, who's had the better of Barrett over the past couple of weeks in these matches, got the advantage, giving Barrett a bit of a headache with a triple headbutt. Throwing him to the outside, Henry's advantage was quickly taken away from him as Barrett threw him into the apron. Hitting a Luthez press, Barrett then hit Winds of Change on the outside, which probably took the wind out of him. Back in the ring, Mark Henry did get the advantage back, and powerbombed him, but Barrett mustered up the energy to lift him onto his shoulders, hit the waistland, and then a bullhammer elbow, and record a clean pinfall victory. Now the Intercontinental title was up for grabs as promised last week, as Ken Shamrock took on Dolph Ziggler. With the stakes raised, Ken Shamrock went straight to work on Dolph Ziggler's leg, hitting a shin breaker and just general working down moves. Dolph Ziggler, though, he wasn't gonna go down without a fight, and hit an X-Factor followed by an arm breaker and a suplex, but Shamrock went straight back to work on that leg. And again, and just kept working on it, and eventually, well, Dolph Ziggler, he had to tap. And we had a brand new Intercontinental Champion in Ken Shamrock. Next up, we had Edge, who was accompanied by Christian taking on Job Squad member Heath Slater, accompanied by Zack Ryder, although the guys on the outside didn't really do much at all. And amazingly, Heath Slater did hit a move, but it wasn't really enough to defeat a former world champion in Edge, who hit a couple of more moves and then spanked Slater with a spear. An easy win for the Rated R superstar, and the Job Squad doing their jobs. They're 0-3, but a feud continued in SmackDown's penultimate match as Cesaro took on Big E. After facing defeat in the last 2 weeks to the New Day member, Cesaro was a bit angry and even hit a Ricola bomb on the outside. After hitting him with the steel steps back in the ring, he hit a very European uppercut and then a giant swing. Haven't been able to do that in a while, and Cesaro won the match, though he's got a chance of gaining some more revenge at the Battleground pay-per-view. SmackDown's main event and the week's main event, and it's World Champion Big Show taking on Kofi Kingston once again, and Kofi Kingston thought he had Big Show's number this time, with some high-flying moves, some Hurricane Ranas, some kicks, and a little Miz move. But it was not enough, and Big Show alley-ooped him down and kicked him down and threw him down with a gorilla press before eating a drop kick. But when Kofi Kingston tried to springboard him, he just punched him, and when he tried to jump off the top rope, he caught him and slammed him to the ground and threw him to the outside before hitting a final cut and a chokeslam through the announce table. You had enough yet, Kofi Kingston? Nope. Punch to the face. And that was it. Big Show victorious. A few questions from the week. Why didn't Bray Wyatt help Daniel Bryan despite being his tag team partner? Will Brock Lesnar get revenge on Dean Ambrose by winning the US title? Will Triple H be able to win back main event's top title? Who can stop Ken Shamrock? And seriously, SmackDown, where the fuck are my cutscenes? Find out all this and more on What Happened on My Universe Mode. Like and subscribe.